Welcome, impactful parents. Today we're going to be talking about AI companions because this is a must-watch episode because teenagers and AI companions are the next big thing. So stay ahead of the game, parents, and let's get educated together and learn new EQ strategies to help your teen give up on the bot and reconnect with us once again. Hello, my name is Kristina Campos. I'm founder of The Impactful Parent, and I help parents of school-age children who want to be one step ahead of their kids to turn their chaos into connection with their adolescent. I'm a mom of four, a teacher that's taught every grade from preschool through high school, and today I help moms and dads like yourself to navigate that exhausting, confusing, frustrating, but rewarding world of parenting. So welcome to The Impactful Parent, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Sandy Gerber. And Sandy is an award-winning speaker and communication trainer who grew a bedroom startup into a top 100 fastest growing company while raising two kids on her own. And her best-selling book called Emotional Magnetism has won 24 international awards, and she hosts the Magnetic Communication podcast also, where she shares fun and practical ways to communicate, to connect at home and at work better. Now, I'm excited to have her on the Impactful Parent stage today to talk more about AI and how these AI companions are really affecting our teenagers and how connection has completely shifted since then. So let's get started. Thanks for being here, Sandy.
Thank you so much, Kristina. Let's have a great chat today.
Well, I want to start with the issue, the big problem here, AI and AI companions. Just to get us all on the same page, what are we talking about? What's the big problem here, and what have you been seeing?
Yeah, it is a big thing. I mean, we're seeing teen adoption of AI companionship being a global rising trend. And I can even share a few numbers with you. It's quite alarming, right? We've got 72% of teens have tried AI companions, 52% of them are using them regularly. There's stats like 1 in 3 teens are using AI for emotional support and role play, sometimes to build up courage in their conversations. And really, we're looking at 30% are using AI for serious conversations rather than with real friends. So we're seeing this big rise in this adoption, and it's not entirely surprising. I mean, where the world is with technology, with the adoption of AI, the thing that's concerning is that, essentially they're using AI for its availability. It's there all the time, 24/7. Their friends aren't, right? And it helps them feel more connected. What AI does well is it validates, right? It validates what they're feeling. It doesn't challenge their feelings like friends would, right? They say, "What are you talking about? This is how I feel." AI just validates that. So we like that. The downside of that is that it's fostering a dependency on a technology, right? And it's reinforcing a distorted relationship expectation. It's reinforcing a distorted relationship expectation. So they think that this is what relationships are like, what friendships are like, and they're missing the social skills, the human connection, the lack of empathy. And so as a parent, we're freaked out, and we should be. This is concerning, right? As a parent who had teens a while ago, I had my own challenges before AI was even on board. I can't imagine what the families are thinking now with the loss of that, what they'd say, control and connection with their teens.
It's a balance, right? I see AI being this amazing asset, and I also see it being the demise and our downfall. And I wish that we can figure out as parents this middle ground and to give us grace. I mean, come on, we are the first pretty much generation of parents to have to deal with this and its
Mhm.
complexities. So to remember that, parents, as we're trying to navigate through this, that yeah, we're going to mess up and we're going to do some things wrong, but we're doing our best. And this issue is something we cannot ignore. I hear exactly what you're saying. Like, oh my gosh, it's giving them this perception about what relationships are that's
Mhm.
completely unrealistic in some ways, parallel to even pornography, where they're seeing this and they think that this is exactly what it's supposed to be like, when really it's not like that at all. let's get to the rub and say, what's driving teenagers to form these close relationships with AI companions
Mhm.
specifically?
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than when we were teens, right? What we're craving is connection. We're craving to be understood. And not many teenagers are understood by their parents, right? So it's kind of that their brains are developing, they're going through so much pressure. The world is crazy right now. So it's a different time than we were kids, and we're trying to parent them the best way we can. And so they're going to AI because first of all, they're tech savvy. They're used to technology. So they can go there quickly, they can get the answer they need. They feel empowered. They also like it because it's shortening and lessening a sense of loneliness that we have in the world right now, right? Or not being understood. That is the biggest concern that I think that they're finding solace in with this AI technology is that they can say something and their AI companion, there some people are saying their best friends are understanding where they're coming from. And so it's not surprising that they're finding that appealing. I think the benefit is short term for sure to reduce that loneliness, to get the response time that they want and expect to have a connection quickly. But where there's concerns is the long term impact of that use. If they're using it heavily, then there's actual studies that are showing that that's impacting their overall well-being. And so that's where we as parents need to be really concerned. And so we can't say to them stop using it. That's absolutely not a strategy. Like we can't say just don't use technology. It's like saying to our kids put your phone down. It's hard, right? So what can we do as parents in this AI era to form connection with our teens? Because that's what we're really talking about. At the heart of all of this, it's can we connect with our teens and communicate with them? At the end of the day, we just want them to be healthy, loved, cared for, respected for who they are, and productive in society. That's what our job is to do. So now this AI companion is kind of stepping on our grounds, right? Like it's stepping on our foot a bit, saying, wait a minute, that's not a human. And I'm a human and I know what to teach you. And so it's really a battle that we're feeling between the parent and the teen. And even today, we got there's an article out in the Washington Post today about a study that was done, an investigation actually by Common Sense Media that was looking into Meta AI, so Instagram and Facebook's AI bot, and it's finding some very concerning results. It's saying, that there's harmful suggestions that are coming out, even as far as suicide and extreme dieting. So we aren't in control as parents of what content is getting to them, right? We haven't for some time. And because of that, as parents, we get more concerned and we get more fear. And so, what can we do? What we can do is focus on our communication skills, focus on our own modeling of emotional intelligence and communication so that they pick that up. Because at the end of the day, at some point, and some would say it could be as early as 2030, we will all have the same information. AI will enable that. So it's not going to be about is your information better than mine or and so forth. It's going to be about how do we stand apart after that? Well, we stand apart from our human connection, from our ability to connect with people and communicate with them. So that's the tool we need to teach our kids. Yes, they're going to find solace and they're going to find comfort in AI, but they haven't seen the difference that comes from having a human connection. And that's the tool that we need to teach. So my passion has always been about helping people communicate better and communicate to connect. And now I had a difficult time doing that with my own teens, right? Because it's bringing up a whole bunch of the past that we had when we were teens. So the way to really build that connection, to get them stepping away from technology a little more and just a more aware of how important it is to communicate, to connect, is to model that behavior.
Now, what do you say about parent who is really trying to connect with their kid, but just is having a hard time living up to the perfect listener,
Mhm.
aka that's AI. AI is going to listen to your child perfectly in non-judgmental ways, which although we try as parents, we're not perfect because communication and relationships, they're messy, they're
Mhm.
unpredictable, we're just so imperfect. It's I can see so many parents struggling with just trying to be better than this perfect listener that AI has become for them in this companion bot, which again was not really where we want them to. We want them to connect with us, real people. So, what do you say about that? A parent that's frustrated with this?
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. It's already without AI a very difficult job trying to connect with the teen. What we need to do is look at how we're responding to things. That's where it starts. So you can be empowered to connect better with your teen once you have some tools. And I think the thing is we need to learn to respond intelligently instead of from impulse, right? Especially the teens have a way of triggering our the teens have a way of really triggering us. So it's easy to just look at, first of all, the biggest, most important thing you can do is check in on yourself. So if they're saying something or they're acting in a way that triggers you, that moment is critical that you put a tool in place and apply that tool so that you can respond intelligently. So because we get so emotional. So your emotions are the key. AI is going to give you information and it has intelligence, but humans have emotions, right? And so that's the biggest distinction. And the one way that you can build that connection with your teen is to build your emotional intelligence. So let me give you an example of one. So one example of a tool that you can use, super simple, and it's called the EQ switch. And so you think of yourself as actually turning on emotional intelligence. It's got 4 quick steps, and you're doing this yourself, so no one even knows you're doing it. So the first step is the EQ breath. So you take a breath, 3 seconds in through your nostril, quiet as possible, 4 seconds out. So it's 7 seconds of breath. And everybody can do this anywhere. I've done it in meetings. I've done it before I get on the stage. I've done it with heated arguments with my daughter, right? So 7 seconds of breath. And what that does is it calms your nervous system down right away. The second step is so unique, and I wish I'd learned this as a kid. It's to name your feeling. It's to name your emotion. So inside your head, you're thinking, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling irritated. I'm feeling unheard. And when you name that feeling, it's not just me saying this, it's backed by science. Dr. Lieberman in UCLA calls it affect labeling. What happens is that panic button in your brain, the amygdala, it calms down by 50%. So it's such a powerful tool to just go, I am feeling blank. First you breathe, then you name the feeling. And then the third thing to do is to locate it in your body, because our feelings show up in our body before our mind. So as soon as we name it or find it in our body, so my jaw is tense, my shoulders are tense, I feel it in my gut, I feel a heat in my face. As soon as you notice that, it brings you back into the present and you're not spiraling in the what ifs. So breathe, name your feeling, locate it in your body. And then finally, fourth is choose your response. See, we typically go from 0 to 4. Like we just immediately respond, right? We just have its impulsive nature. Hey, don't do that. Put your phone down. You're not listening. Go to your room. All those things. But if you can just go through those 4 steps, and at first it feels clumsy, it feels weird. It's like anything. It's a muscle. It has to be worked. But once you get to a point of just getting to a point of 7 seconds, you can have that done and you can quickly respond with a very intelligent answer. So, and that the gift of this, when you develop as a parent your communication skills and your emotional intelligence skills, you're modeling that for your teens and for your family. So they start picking that up. So that's one tool that is super successful, very, very easy to adopt, and really helps people just calm down instead of reacting. So you're not reacting, you're responding. And that makes a big difference. And that will change your teen's life in the future if you just taught them that one quick tool. And that's something that you can sit down with your family and talk through. Another tool to use is to really look at how your nonverbal communication is showing up. So I call them connection cues. But like in the first 4 minutes of meeting someone, our nonverbal accounts for more than half of all our words. So that communication is so essential because we can feel what someone's saying without them actually saying anything, right? We know that because it happens instinctively and subconsciously. So looking at ask yourself when you're talking to your teen, how are your words landing with them? What's their body language like? What are they doing? And what can you do to build a better connection there? So many times I would find myself with my teens, crossed arms, scowl on my face, that kind of stuff. That's what they're picking up on. Even if I'm saying, no, I'm listening, you're not, right? You're blocked and you've got a scowl on your face. So connection cues, simple things you can do there. You can tilt your head slightly when you're talking to your kids. That shows engagement. It's a universal sign of engagement. You can smile, and smiling is contagious. It's a signal of acceptance. So always have a smile when you're talking to them. It's very hard to do when you're in a frustrated state, but it can defuse the situation. You can uncross, check where your body language is, check where your arms are, your gestures, your things like that. Is it closed or is it open, for conversation? So being mindful for the first time of how your content is landing with your children and what their body language is doing well. And if you mirror their body language, so if they're sitting with their legs crossed, you cross your legs. If they're leaning forward, you lean forward. What that does is it builds a subconscious connection that you're similar, and we all like people who are like us. So it builds that trust. So those are two really quick tools that you can use right now, right this minute, to build more connection with your teens.
I love those suggestions. I feel like parents ignore the body language cues way too often, where we say something and our body language is not is not in that same alignment. So we look frustrated, but we're saying, "Oh no, it's fine."
Yeah.
So and then we don't pay attention, and we do need to do that. I love the pausing, composing ourselves, taking a minute to be able to be that calm, steady presence that our teenagers need more than any other time in their life,
Mhm.
really. For us to be level-headed and the rock, we are the foundation. We are that thing that kids need. Otherwise, our teenagers will just match our reaction and up us one. I mean, if we're
That's
coming
right.
at it yelling, they're going to yell back. Our teenager doesn't get quiet back when we start to yell. No, they yell back, and then sometimes they even yell back louder. So I
Mhm.
think it's just a good reminder to parents with great strategies. So I'd like to ask also,
Yeah.
if AI can offer this tailored advice and support, right, in their AI companions, how can parents learn from this personalized approach to better connecting with their teens without just mimicking a robot, obviously, because we can't do that. But that is one of the things that AI does do really well. It's a tailored, very individualized attention that's going
Mhm.
straight to your kid, not trying to lecture them, but really trying to answer their questions and being straightforward about it. And it's tailored to their specific needs. How can we take a lead on that?
Yeah, so the interesting thing here is that when we look at AI giving answers, they're giving validation, as I said before, and information. But what we can do differently and to get that same amount of connection is to first and foremost use curiosity. Like, absolutely use curiosity. And so I'll call them honest questions. But most of us come home from the day and we say, how was your day? It's just the worst question on the planet. Like, do not ask anybody how their day was. I just change that question to provide a little more curiosity so that you don't know what the answer is. The answer to how was your day is fine. That was it. That's the answer. So just by changing your questions, open-ended questions that you don't know the end to or the answer to, open-ended questions that you don't know the answer to, what you can do is just ask them differently. So I even do this with my husband where he comes home and I'll say, what surprised you about the day? And we don't know where that conversation is going to go. And so sometimes as parents, we ask questions because we know what the answer is going to be. But maybe if you just shift it to a place of curiosity and asked an honest question like, what surprised you today? Or what made you smile today? Or in regards to the AI companion, what does your AI companion know about me? Like, start creating open conversation with your teen to really de- to really deliver a unique conversation, because what's going to happen is they will feel seen and heard, and that's what they feel when they're on their AI companion. They feel understood, they feel validated, they feel seen, and they feel valued. So if that's the case, how can you do that as a parent? So one of the quickest, easiest tools is to use curiosity. And so open-ended questions are massive. Do not say, how was your day? Please, please, please. And just change that sentence to be a little bit more interesting every day. And that will start creating this inner satisfaction with your teen that, hey, I like coming home and having these conversations. Now, when it's a difficult conversation and a tense conversation, you're not going to want to ask much about curious. You're not, when it's a difficult conversation, you're not going to want to be very curious. But that's where you apply your EQ switch, do the breath, figure out what you're feeling. And then there's a tool I offer that has worked in so many times in my case with teenagers on a sandwich. Basically, three pieces. You tell your teen what you feel. You tell them what you need, and you tell them what you're going to do next. So feel, need, and next. So you say, let's say you're in a tense conversation. You say, you know what, I'm feeling a little attacked, or I'm getting really upset right now. I'm feeling angry. That's the feel. I need us to have a conversation that's more respectful. I need to not feel like you're shouting at me. I need a little space right now to compose myself. And then you go to next. Next, what I'd like to do is just take a few minutes and let's regroup on this conversation. So what you've just done is modeled emotional intelligence. Feel, need, next. And it's easy little tools. So these are the things most of us have been trained in communication. We picked up what we learned from our families and our situations. So by providing this little tool and working on it yourself first, then you can share that with your team because they'll see, hey, wait, she didn't respond the way she usually does, or they aren't reacting the way I thought they would. And they'll see this behavior change and they'll start emulating it themselves. So you're modeling effective communication every time you do that.
I love these tidbits and such great gold nuggets. I'm going to add to that one and say, parents, when if you're having difficulty getting your teenager to talk to, a lot of times teenagers don't want to be talked at, they just want to be talked with. And to do that, they don't really want to actually look at you. And so sometimes the easiest way to get your teenager to engage with you in a conversation is to be parallel to them instead of straightforward to them. So I would say the mistake that a lot of parents make is they sit down at dinner time where they're sitting across the dinner table from their kid to sit down and talk to them, or they sit down at a desk, or they come into their room and open the door and say, "Hey, I'd like to chat with you, sport." That's nothing that the kids really, very few will be receptive to that. But instead, do it in the car, possibly when they're sitting
Mhm.
next to you or behind you, where they don't have to look at you, but you could start a conversation, and they're even strapped in and locked in the in the car. So it's a good place to start going for a walk where you're parallel and you're walking, heading the same direction together. Just having that parallel space if you're having a teenager who is a little bit more reluctant to talking to you, it's a good place to start. Work up to being able to sit up in front of your child. And just to be honest, if your kid never wants to sit right in front of you, hey, I have those too. It's not a big deal as long as
Yeah.
they're talking to you.
One of the things that my family did, I mean, my dad, we had four in our family, so he'd pile us all into the station wagon and we'd go on mystery tours. And so it would be like when my mom had had enough of us, or when they'd both had enough of us, we'd get into a car and we'd go somewhere and it would be a mystery. Well, I've evolved that with my own kids. When they were teens, I'd say, okay, phones down, get in the car, we're going to have an experience. It's kind of like a game. So you can create a game out of it. And what happened was I'd say, okay, you get to say left or right, and we'll turn that way. It always ended in an ice cream cone, so they loved it. But essentially, you say left or right, and you ask them to do one thing. Watch and notice something that you want to point out to the rest in the car. Just point out something you haven't seen before. Point out something that you find is attractive or different or funny. And that started a conversation. And all the time that happened, we would end up with a conversation that we never expected. And it gave me an opportunity also to be a little more vulnerable, to share stories. We don't have it all together as parents. We're doing the best we can. So being able to share that vulnerability in a car or on a bench or walking in a trail is very memorable for them. And it alleviates the tension of the eye contact, as you mentioned. So yeah, mystery tours are big. And also AI can't drive your kid to Dairy Queen. So, we're all good.
The other thing that AI does that really serves teenagers and why I personally think so many are going into AI bots for that emotional and social interaction is the safety of it. AI feels like it's a safe space to ask them questions, real questions that they have on their mind without getting the ridicule back from their peers, obviously their parents. Um, so it helps build teens' confidence in a way, but then they're not really engaging with real people. So it goes back to that. What's your take on this? Are there risks to participating in this kind of communication in this consequence free environment? And I guess the second part of that would be starting a conversation. How can we as parents make this seem safe to come to us?
Yeah, great question. I think, so there's two parts in that. The risks, first of all, I mean, I like that so first of all, they're going to a safe environment that's non-judgmental, that's validating, to ask probably some very vulnerable questions, right? This is how I'm feeling. They're not going to go to a friend and say some of the things that they're feeling because their fear of judgment is too strong. Or they're worried about eye rolls in the family or just someone making fun of them. So that's why it's safe for them, right? And if we had that as kids, I'm not sure that we wouldn't use it as well, right? And then they're also very curious about themselves, and so it's a safe space to be curious. So what can we do as parents to build that same curiosity is to ask them about their use and the questions they're asking. Like, it's not about whether they're using it or not. I'm sorry, but you're just not going to be able to control that. It's a resource for them now, right? And it's going to be a resource for all of us in the future. So focus less on the usage of it and focus more on why they're using it. Why are they feeling compelled to have that conversation with a bot rather than a human? And come from a place of complete authenticity. I didn't have this as a kid. I don't understand. So, best question you can ask a person, help me to understand why you feel blank or why you do blank. Help me to understand. Because then you're again modeling effective communication and you're really trying to understand. I mean, think about it. If your kid was starting a new game, you'd have lots of questions about it. So, why don't we have lots of questions about their AI companion instead of just saying, don't use it or it's going to have these risks? And even every teenager, you tell them the risks of things, they're not going to listen to you. So what do you do? Well, what you do is you start being more curious with them as human beings and what they're getting from it, you know and so just having some understanding around the fact that they feel it's a safe space, they can be vulnerable, they can ask, and then open up that conversation. Would you share a question that you share with them with me so I can have a better viewpoint of what you're doing there and help to understand why you're using it as much? Or if your teen, I had a client say to me that their daughter, she was very concerned, her daughter's best friend is an AI bot and she spends all of her time with it all day and into the evening. And so she said, what do I do, Sandy? How do I get her to stop? I'm like, okay, I think what you need to do first is understand why they're gravitating to that platform as opposed to their real friends. And it usually has to do with a fear of something. So if AI was suddenly removed from your life, what would be missing? What would I need to do as your parent to help you be able to be comfortable to have that conversation with me? That's a conversation we don't have. So it's also a vulnerability that we need as parents to be comfortable with. And I'm telling you, the other side of that is a beautiful space. It's a beautiful space of authentic conversation, of real connection, and memorable family dynamics. Like, I was not a great mom to teens. I didn't know what I was doing. And if A was involved in that, it would have been a disaster. But so the thing is, what I was good at was being curious about what was going on in their life and understanding. I had my daughter say to me one time, I was scrolling through my phone and I said, "How was your day?" She's like, nice that you can't get your thumb out of the phone, Mom. And I was like, "Whoa, busted," and we've all been there. So the thing is to just remember we're two people trying to connect, And the best way to do that is through honesty and curiosity and just being truthful about, look, this usage with the AI, it's worrying me. Can you help me to understand what you're getting from it and help me to understand what that looks like in the future? Because my concern is that you won't have a loving relationship, a wonderful friendship, a human connection. That's all I want for you. That's a different conversation than saying, put your phone down, don't be using AI. So it's going to make us as parents stressed, but we need to remember this is all part of our lesson that we're learning and a lesson that we're teaching to our own children.
So much easier said than done. I love all these suggestions, though. I mean, it's true. And I feel like um, just as parents, we tend to default to the easiest thing, which is, hey, stop that, don't do it, or take it away. And we don't get curious, and we need to. It's absolutely essential to ask those questions. It comes also from a vulnerability place, from a parent's point of view. It's hard for us to be vulnerable and
Mhm.
say, to take a step back and actually listen and to see somebody. Well, that's really hard, especially for some uh just depending on how we grew up. It's
Mhm.
hard to get open and vulnerable and start asking questions. But I do think it's our goal. I think we need good reminders on that. That's where we're headed. That's where we need to be
Yes.
as parents, to continuously ask. Even not even about AI bots, about all
Anything.
technology use really in general. I mean, why is it that your kid doesn't want to get off the video game and they're just obsessed with it? Is it because that's where their friends are? Is it because that's where they feel like they're capable and they have this great skill and they makes them feel good and makes them feel confident?
Mhm.
Where we just see it as a video game,
That's right.
And so
That's
I
right.
think that AI companions are similar in that, where we have this really great resource for the world now, and we are just struggling as parents to navigate, how do we teach our kids balance, because we can't take it away like we've
Mhm.
mentioned. Oh, it's great to be able to do that, but that's not super realistic, especially for our older children. So
Yeah.
then how do we then arm them with the abilities and the techniques and tools that they need in order to minimize interaction, use it only when they need to, but know that social interaction is really important too. I mean, just to get that balance, that's where we're finding
Yes.
such a rub right now.
Mhm.
And you do help parents with this. I want to talk about that now. Tell us more about what you do and the EQ kits and stuff that you offer.
Oh yeah, happy to. So I'm a speaker and a trainer and an author, and I go and I do keynotes or workshops and training in companies. But then I also have a whole bunch of tools online. I have to share like this. I wasn't always great at communication. I mean, it took a journey to get here, but it was about 15 years ago. I was rocking it in my professional life. Everything was great, but in my personal life, I was failing. I had 2 failed marriages. I was a single mom, and that really set me on the trajectory of 10 years of study to really figure out how to communicate effectively in my relationships personally, and then how to ultimately have a healthy relationship in the future. And that evolved into research and finding these tools. And what I found was it's really about making communication simple. Like if you can find a quick little tool that works for you, you keep using it and it makes things better. So those tools that I used in my own relationships, well, I even used it on a first date. So, and that first date has resolved into 11 years of a phenomenal marriage and relationship. So we adore each other because we've worked through these tools together. So my mission is to provide them to everybody. And I provide a lot of them for free because I'd like people to ultimately, we need more love and acceptance in this world. And so any way that we can communicate more effectively is going to benefit us, all of us globally. So I did a quick sheet for your listeners. I did up a quick cheat sheet, the Quick Start EQ Teen Toolkit, I called it. But there's 4 little tools in there that you can use. Some I mentioned today, but even more there. And there's even more on my site. But the first thing I'd say to all of your parents is to just start with one tool for yourself. This isn't about your kids first. It's about you. And it's about your communication and your emotional intelligence, because it's how you react is impacting your conversations with your teen. So start with your own emotional intelligence. Like even that EQ switch that I talked about, start there and regulate. What am I feeling? Where is it showing up in my body? How am I going to choose to respond? That that new habit will change your life. And then just work on another tool, or maybe take one of the tools and sit down with your teen and say, hey, I learned this kind of cool thing today, and I'm working through it myself, and you want to try it. So that's expressing vulnerability. That's sharing, hey, I had a podcast chat with Sandy today, and this is what I learned. You want to try it? Like, sounds pretty cool. So just being a little more open with what you're experiencing in your life will just blow your teen's mind, and they will become a little bit more curious about you. Like, you're supposed to have all your stuff together. You're their parent. We don't have any of our stuff together, but we try to. And so just using these little tools, and they start seeing it, they will start modeling it in their life as well. So, and I'd say lastly for the parents is just to have a little grace. This is a tough time. We're trying to raise our kids in a technology world, and we're trying the best we can to balance everything. And so I think just having come from a very difficult time and come through the other side to have a beautiful, respectful relationship and amazing relationships with my adult children, there is an upside here once you start working on yourself.
I love that it starts with us as parents. We got to take the initiative, and starts right here. It starts
It does.
right here. If you want to grab the free tips that we have for you, they're going to be inside the Impactful Parent app. And as always, the Impactful Parent app is free for you to download and available on your phone's app store. And if people are resonating with what you're saying, give us our website. What can we find on your website and other things that maybe you offer?
Oh, sure. So they can find me at sandygerber.com. Gerber like the baby food or the knives, if you want to remember it. So sandygerber.com. And then on there, I have a whole bunch of free tools, but I also have a podcast that I do weekly. So it's called Magnetic Communication. And again, I'm big on bite-sized content because we don't have time, right? So these bite-sized episodes, they're under 12 minutes. Every week, I take a tool and I share it with the audience. So tune into that. That would be awesome. And then just reach out to me, connect with me on social. I'm always sharing tools through my social. And I also have a YouTube channel, Sandy Gerber EM. So yeah, let's connect and let me know how I can help you with your team.
Sandy is going to be a great resource for us parents because, as we all know, and I say this over and over and over again, we are all trying to grab that connection with our teen. And honestly, it does start with good communication. It starts with, how are we talking to them? How are we reacting to the things that they say? How are we posturing ourselves? Body language, it's all. And wonderful thing is that Sandy is great about teaching us how to communicate better. So if you're listening to this and you are finding that that's you can use a little bit of help with this, listen to the podcast, get a couple of tips. I love that, by the way, because it's so hard to consume a lot of new information all at once. But when you got a podcast with just one quick little tip, and that's something you can work on for the week, bam,
Yeah.
before you know it, we start to become way better communicators 1 week at a time. And it sounds slow, but it's really not. That's actually pretty great progress, pretty fast. So
That's
I hope
right.
our audience checks that out. I'm assuming it's on most podcast stations.
Yes, it is. Yeah, all of them.
And give us that name for one more time.
Yeah, so the podcast is Magnetic Communication. And you can find me anywhere in relations to, you'll see me with magnets everywhere and stuff, because I really believe we need to communicate to connect. So take that time for yourself, learn how to communicate to connect with just a short little tip, and you'll see the changes in your life quickly.
I'm glad you decided to be here today. Begin your Impactful Parent journey by downloading the Impactful Parent app. And that is where our freebie is today. So go pick it up, because inside you're going to have help, tips, and parenting resources right in your pocket. And since the app is free, there's no reason to go and download it. Just go find it from your phone's app store, and it's that easy. So discover how you can step up your parenting game and become a more impactful parent. Also available are online courses, parent support groups, coaching services, and of course the app. You can find all of this at theimpactfulparent.com. But until next time, you got this, parents. I'm just here to help.